didn't realize that this problem has an n squared but no n. So you didn't use a square root to solve this one. Maybe use the quadratic formula. So remember the quadratic formula, we got to get it into standard form first. Ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So very first thing I got to do is I got to make this 0 over here. So instead of 80, I'm going to subtract the 80 and move it to the other side. So I end up with n squared plus, oh, not plus, minus 72 equals 0. So now it equals 0, it's standard form, I'm ready for A, B, and C. So A is always my number in front of my squared term. If there is no number, remember it's an invisible 1. So I got A is 1. B is always the number by the x, or in this case, my n. Look at this problem. There is no n in this problem. So that means my b is 0. And then my c is my constant. My constant this time is negative 72. So I'm ready to plug it into the quadratic formula. Pause your video and write the quadratic formula down. So you should have written x equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So now we are ready to sub in some values. So a goes here and here, b goes here and here, and c goes just here. So pause your video, sub them in. So you should have gotten the opposite of 0 plus or minus the square root of 0 squared minus 4ac, 4 times 1 times negative 72, all over 2 times 1. Remember, we always simplify in 3 places, here, here, and here. So we're going to end up with, I always use the highlighter. Sorry, guys. We're going to end up with some number plus or minus the square root of some number over some number. So first thing, the opposite is 0. The opposite of 0 is still 0 because 0 doesn't have an opposite. Next thing, I'm going to type all of that in my calculator. So pause your video and type it in your calculator. I got 288. Hopefully you got the same thing. And then finally, 2 times 1 is 2. So next up, I'm going to simplify my square root. That's my next step. So I need to determine where does 288 lie on my list of perfect squares. So 288 lies between the square root, So it lies between the square root of 289 and the square root of 256. Okay, so square root of 288 falls between them. So I'm going to start by dividing it by 256. So 288 divided by 256 is a decimal. I'm not going to use that one. Oh, I forgot to write what those were equal to. This is plus or minus 17, and this one was plus or minus 16. So next one down is 225, which is plus or minus 15. So again, I'm going to divide. So 288 divided by 225. And when you do that, you're going to get a decimal again. Okay, so I'm not going to keep going. You know how to do this now. So pause your video, find the perfect square that fits into 288. So hopefully you got the square root of 288 can be written as the square root of 144 times the square root of 2. So square root of 144 is plus or minus 12, and square root of 2 doesn't have one, so it's just square root of 2. So now we're going to replace the square root of 288 with 12 square root of 2. So I still have my 0, I still have my plus or minus. Instead of square root of 288, I'm going to go ahead and put 12 square root of 2. And then I have it divided by 2. So 0 here doesn't really do anything, so I don't need it. So really this is plus or minus 12 square root of 2 over 2. Okay? And I can actually do this division. What's 12 divided by 2? Well, that's plus or minus 6 square root of 2. That's our final answer. Our two answers are 6 square root of 2 and negative 6 square root of 2.